In 1942, after their landings in North Africa during Operation Torch, American military might and industrial output dominated much of the Allied strategy on the Western European fields of battle. By August of 1944, that strategy had taken the three Allied forces of America, Russia, and Great Britain to the borders of Germany itself. But the rapid charge across Europe after the Normandy landings had bogged down, and now the Allied commanders were locked in heated debate on how best to crush the Nazi forces defending the fatherland. While many Western Allied generals pushed for calculated, widespread campaigns at a variety of points within the Axis-held territories, one obstinate British field marshal saw a way to end the war against Hitler with a single decisive strike at Germany's heart. His name was Bernard Law Montgomery, but the world called him Monty. Monty once wrote that all of his life had been a series of battles. They began with struggles with his parents and continued as clashes with his teachers, his military superiors, his wartime enemies, and finally, with death itself, robbing him of his beloved wife, Betty, just 2 years before the outbreak of World War II. The future field marshal was born into a very unmilitary family. His father was a missionary, and his mother a devout, loyal wife and mother. Monty was never inclined to preach the gospel. He was too much of a misfit, too much of a rebel. Beaten often by his mother for any multitude of infractions, Monty's mean streak grew and eventually ran wild. By 1906, Monty was accepted into a British military academy and was quickly promoted to commander of his company. But for all his strengths, Monty displayed an equal amount of excess and weakness. These were character defects that often led him down a violent path. After one particularly violent episode in which Monty was nearly expelled for setting fire to a fellow student, the British bully decided to redirect his impulsiveness into those qualities he needed to excel at his chosen profession, the military. Monty soon found himself serving as a commissioned officer in British-held India, and by 1912 was back in England until the outbreak of World War I in August of 1914. Up to this point, little of Monty's active duty experience could have prepared him for what he would face on the battlefields of Europe. In his first encounter with the German military, Monty led a suicidal charge across a shell-pitted field in France. It was a valiant but foolhardy effort. Most of his brave unit was mowed down by a hail of machine gun fire in a matter of seconds. Monty's life was saved only by accident. In his mad dash across the field, the young officer tripped on his sword strap, sending him headfirst to the safety of low-lying ground. Leading another charge against German forces in late 1914, Monty was hit twice by a sniper, once in the knee and again in the chest. As another member of his unit tried to pull Monty to safety, the sniper killed that soldier with one shot. The now dead comrade crumpled on top of Monty, and for 3 hours, the two men, one dead, one dying, lay together as pouring rain and seeping blood soaked the earth around them. Somehow, Monty survived. He was awarded England's second highest medal for gallantry, the Distinguished Service Order, and less than a year later was prepared to take on the enemy once more. Despite his bullish demeanor, Monty's superiors saw much potential in the young officer. Toward the end of World War I, he was promoted to the rank of major and put in charge of operational planning until the armistice on November 11th of 1918. After years of life as an Army bachelor, Monty met and married the love of his life, Betty Carver, in 1927. With Betty at his side, Monty moved up the ranks and looked forward to a long career and family life. That dream was dashed, however, in 1937 when Betty died after a long-fought battle with an infection she had contracted from an insect bite. Monty's spirit was almost crushed. The only thing that kept him from complete collapse was his career. The death of his wife, combined with the